Newcastle has had a youth refuge for 3 years, a refuge which last year turned away 120 homeless young people because it couldn't accommodate them. In an effort to help cope with the growing demand for emergency youth shelter, 2 new refuges have been established at Redhead and Maitland. Funding, however, is still a problem. Refuges have to reapply regularly for state and Commonwealth grants, making budgeting difficult. The average age of the region's homeless youths is a staggering 14, and despite the 2 new centres, emergency accommodation is still scarce, especially for boys.
In the Newcastle area, there seems to be more options for girls, such as the City Mission runs 2 hostels in the Newcastle area. However, for boys, there is very limited options because they can't afford to stay in a normal rental situation, and even what limited accommodation is available, they can't afford that either because usually they're unemployed, or if they're under 16 they have no income at all.
Goes the problem of adequate Commonwealth.
Three fixtures, 10 o'clock the under-15s, 12 o'clock under-17s and 2 o'clock the main game. Let's have a look at the Newcastle team that's competing against the Central Coast in the main fixture. From the forward line, Brett Edwards, Mark Kidd, Alex Martin. Half forward line, Russell Macy, Brendan Higgins and Graham Stark. The centre line, Mark Nugent, Mel Farnham and Ron Victor. The half-back line, Ray Dool, Ben Jansen, who is captain of the side, and Rob Burns. And the back line, Wayne Orr, Carl Ferguson and Greg Pratton. The followers for Newcastle, Darryl Isaacs, Keith White and Graham Vanell. For the Central Coast, which is a very, very good side indeed. From the forward line, Tim Cook, Chris Payne, Steve Sherwood. Half-forward line, Peter Smee, Warren Maguire and John Carpenter. The centre line, Warren Dowling, Paul Coghlan and Danny Agnew. The half-back line, Trevor Wilson, Gary Cooper and Tony Kane. The back line, Chris Smith, Shane Reid and John Van Dam. The followers for Central Coast, Danny Hayes, Tony McBee and John Gahan. And that should be a very, very exciting match here at 2 o'clock tomorrow at the number 1 Sports Ground.
Here they go.
The Spectres are back to top form after a mid-season slump and have recorded victories in their last 4 games, including a big win over St Kilda last weekend. Nunawading have strengthened their forward line by adding Man Mountain Dean Utoff to their squad. Utoff is in a tight contest with George Murrow as the leading rebounder in the National Basketball League. At the end of the 11th week, Big George had a narrow lead, and the results from this game could decide the eventual winner. Murrow has a rebounding average of 14.69 from 13 games, while Utoff was on 14.08 after 12. Chuck Harmison, last year's top centre, has moved to the forward line, and along with Ron Lemons will make it tough for the Falcon front line of Ian Davies, Mike Johnson and Murrow. Falcon guards Ankeny, Cruz, Rebillard and Davidson hold a slight advantage over the Spectre backcourt of Alan Black, Gary Fox, Damien Keogh and Peter Stalker, but this game definitely will be decided on the boards.
Throughout the week-long convention, Scottish dancing lessons are being held for people of all ages and abilities. The Royal Scottish Country Dancing Association has been holding conventions like this for more than 20 years in Australia. The first was held in the Hunter Valley at Tokal. According to organisers, the event, which is held in a different city each year, is growing in popularity. 170 Scots from all over Australia and New Zealand are taking part in this year's convention at Newcastle's Great Northern Hotel. Many are experienced Scottish dancers, but some, like the people at today's class, are learning their national dances for the first time. On Friday, they will be given the chance to put their new skills to the test when the convention concludes with a formal ball at Newcastle City Hall.
The search began this afternoon when a man acting suspiciously behind the Commonwealth Bank at the junction was chased by police to an area. As he made his escape, police alleged he pointed a gun at Sergeant Potter from Newcastle, who alerted other police and joined in the chase for the man, which led them to Cahaiba. The man was last seen in this area near the Cahaiba Bowling Club. After he disappeared, police set up roadblocks at every possible exit point from the city, including this one at Belmont. All available police were used to search the Cahaiba Dudley area and further afield. Meanwhile, Sergeant Anforth and the NBN helicopter joined the search. During the day, police followed what they believed to be sightings of the suspect, who escaped on a silver Suzuki 1100 wearing a silver crash helmet and a brown jumper. One sighting, which turned out to be a false alarm, was here in bushland off Beach Crescent, Cahaiba. The helicopter circled overhead, keeping a watch on the unfortunate trail bike rider as police moved in, but soon discovered it was the wrong man. Late this evening, police discovered what they believed to be the suspect's motorcycle underneath a house in 32 Ocean View Parade, Charlestown. A white Mercedes has been stolen from the house, and it has been confirmed that there are hostages in the vehicle, which has been driven to Wyong. The man has threatened to shoot the hostages if police intervene.
Yes, it is. We performed very well over in New Zealand against South Island, and of course with the addition of the 6 Sydney blokes, it's a pretty good side.
What sort of a chance do we really have? I mean, you've been around football and played for both sides, I believe.
Well, we've got a second and none chance, but we've just got to remember, and we're all aware of it, they've still got 12 internationals in their side, and one fella who's playing excellent football. In any case, otherwise he would have wouldn't have kept Craig Young out of the side. So we're realistic about it. We know we're going to have a real battle, even though we're quite confident about our own chances.
Do you see it as any problem, and it has been talked about a bit, that the players are now playing against clubmates? Will that worry them?
Well, it is a problem, but as I've said to the boys, that Ray Price, for example, who is a full and thorough professional, that if he can get a chance to put somebody out of business in the game through legitimate means, he will do it, because he's a professional and he's playing for money and he's playing for prestige. And I expect that there'll be no friendships and mates remembered.
Sure. Have you had any problem moulding in the city players with the boys from the bush?
No, it's been absolutely tremendous. They've fitted in. After all, they are country fellas, and
sure.
And they've still got their backgrounds and roots in the country, and they're quite delighted to actually have the opportunity of playing. And whilst they probably don't relish playing against their teammates, in some respects they're looking forward to it.
What about the training around here this morning?
I thought it was an excellent training. It's the best we've had, and we had 1 or 2 drop balls, but things look ominous for City.
Something the Soil Conservation Commission has offered the Council since 1975, but Maitland is the first local council to take up the action, making it something new. Basically, the Soil Conservation Service has examined proposed development land, like this area at Bulwarra, and identified problems where land might be subject to erosion or flooding or movement. The service provides 4 councils a safety check on developers' plans.
It gives town planners a foolproof tool so that mistakes aren't made. You don't build where landslip will occur or on floodplains. For example, if this service had been used many years ago, Singleton certainly would not have been built where it is, or Lismore, or Grafton. So it's a very helpful and sensible way in which to plan for urban subdivision.
Port Stephens Council has also now requested the Soil Conservation Commission to participate in future planning, a move obviously prompted by past mistakes, some of which were today inspected by the Minister. He saw sandy subdivisions ravaged by erosion and beset with problems, which Mr Hallam said may well have been avoided had the Soil Conservation Commission's advice been sought in the first place.
To that end, the SRA's Chief Executive, Mr David Hill, is holding meetings with railway staff at all major centres throughout the state. Tonight he's at Broadmeadow, and tomorrow night he'll be at the Cardiff workshops. In addressing 200 SRA employees at Broadmeadow, Mr Hill said the recession has brought a dramatic cutback in railway business. Mr Hill said this could have led to up to 3,000 retrenchments. But a massive cost-cutting program, if implemented successfully, would mean a job for everyone presently employed. The Chief Executive revealed 4 major savings areas. Workshops must become more efficient, uneconomic branch line operations must be reorganised, and an improvement must be made in train operations generally. But he emphasised the 4th point, the one of major importance to this area, the reduction of freight train crews from 3 persons to 2. Mr Hill said long-distance passenger trains have been operating with 2 men, and there's no fundamental reason why it can't happen with goods trains. The elimination of the fireman or the guard would produce 800 surplus staff, but Mr Hill said these people could easily be absorbed in vacancies occurring already because of a recruitment ban. Meetings will be held between the SRA and all railway unions next week to discuss the finer points of the proposal.
I, George Julius Edward Mose, renouncing all other allegiance, solemnly and sincerely promise and declare that I will
Dutch-born Edward Mose was all smiles last night from his hospital bed as he pledged his allegiance to the Queen and his new country. 20-year-old Edward was in a car accident last month and so was unable to attend the naturalisation ceremony held at the Newcastle City Hall last Tuesday. So, being sympathetic to Edward's plight, the Department of Immigration and Ethnic Affairs decided to bring the ceremony to him at the Mater Hospital. Edward hopes to be discharged from the Mater next weekend.
Broken femur.
Who ventured to Skateland Broadmeadow to listen to the Newcastle band Baron last night were obviously out for a good time, and they weren't disappointed. The concert was one of the few that have been available to young people under 18, but Mr Paul Hardy, one of the organisers from 2KO, says it won't be the last.
It's school holidays at the moment, and there's a lot of kids under 18 who can't get into clubs and pubs. They've really got nothing to do, and they really can't go and see a good rock and roll band. So what 2KO decided to do was put on the Rage, the Teenage Rage as we call it here at the Skateland at Broadmeadow, so the kids have got somewhere to go and have a good rage without getting involved with alcohol, etc.
Mr. Zipfeld's address centred on missiles in Europe. He says his country supports disarmament, but he says it won't lay down its weapons until other countries do the same.
I think also Australia should be aware that the danger of the nuclear armament, the danger of the arms race is worldwide and not only concentrated on Europe.
Is the GDR arming to protect itself?
We made it quite clear several times that we try as our first task to disarm together. Of course, that's only possible on a mutual basis if the other side does the same. So the Soviet Union already in 1981 took 100,000 soldiers out of our republic and brought them back behind the wall. And quite a lot of other measures has been taken which show our willingness to disarm. But, and that I think it's also necessary if the other side does not follow those steps and is not prepared to come to any kind of positive results in the talks which are going on in Europe in these days, then of course we have to take the necessary measures to guarantee our security.